Well, hello everybody. Big Matt here again with the May update on Miss Mary's restoration project. When we left off, I was telling you about some things I was going to change and whatnot after going and doing a walk around and walk through. And one of the things I had been talking about at that time was the freshwater fill system. So since then, that's been done. We start off. So now both these ports are used for filling the onboard freshwater tank. This is our stock pull-out kind, which has our vent plug way back in there. And then we have standard city water hookup in the place of where the original fill port was. And both of these feed the pipe going to the freshwater tank. This one is your gravity feed, and this one can be hooked up directly with the pump from the refill tank or from a city water connection, and it has a 3/4 inch PEX line that goes into the side of the inch and a half, inch and a half, I think, PVC pipe that feeds into the tank itself. This one down here, of course, is our standard city water connection, and that's, cable TV, because we finally pulled all the wires. As you've seen, our power's hooked up, and so we won't too much on that. That's just my little do-it-yourself filling tube for sticking stuff inside the tank fill port. So let's go on up around and head on inside. As you can see, we're back in the barn again. Got permission to pull her in as long as she stays on the truck, and which is just fine because it's getting warm, and being out of the sun while you work's nice. So you can see she still needs a bath, but there she is, minus her ugly gray tarp. And over on the assembly bench here, we've got the maple front for the refrigerator cabinet ready for, it's got one more piece to put on, and then it'll be ready for sanding. And then we'll do a little bit of sampling tests with the stains to match the paneling board so that it will be as close as possible to the rest of the pre-finished maple plywood in the camper. My free toolbox from the junk pile. Never look a gift toolbox in the mouth. We got the jacks down right now because I needed to level the camper up so that I could be certain that I was working level while putting the kitchen cabinets in. So, moving on into the bathroom. See, we've cleared the stuff out of the way finally, so I need to get in here. And that was because we were plumbing that in to finish closing up all the open lines in the freshwater system. You can see that the ceiling strip's been put in here because I need to get that in before I put that shower permanently in place, because that is, like, as you can tell, rigid copper. That's going to be polished later and then sealed so that it stays polished. But that is our shower for the bathroom. And then, of course, over here will be where our faucet is going to go. And just looking at that, the original faucet I was thinking about putting in, unfortunately, will not work, so I'm going to definitely have to go with a knob faucet. Medicine cabinet's just sitting in the hole for right now. You can see, even got the shutoff valve for the toilet installed. Need to seal the pretty trim ring onto the wall still. The furnace officially is hooked up to gas, and the gas system is done. I need to replace one piece I did in the tank compartment because it leaks a little bit, and that was because I was using a crappy Harbor Freight flaring tool. Save yourself the trouble. Go spend the $50 for the nice flaring, Husky flaring tool from Home Depot. You will thank yourself for it. It makes a perfect flare every single time. So as you can see, there's a little bit of stainage on that from where water got onto it from when I was working. All the wiring is done down here now. We've got that one right there is the running lights relay. Rather than drawing all the load for the running lights off of the camper's plug, all the camper's plug does is acts as the switch power to turn that on and off. That actually runs off the local power grid in the camper. And it comes off the charging plug, so it's pulling directly out of the number one leg. Not number one, the number 4 cable that's part of the charging plug. So it has more than sufficient amperage coming directly from the alternator and the main battery on the truck. That one there is the relay that turns on and off the water pump when you flick the two-way switches excuse me, they just got my second COVID shot a couple days ago, and I'm still feeling wonky biscuits. And then we have the gas line, of course, for the furnace. Originally those were hand bent copper, and because I used that Harbor Freight tool, every single section of it leaked. So I ended up using the rubber hoses I'd already bought or had on hand and just using them for those. It's easier to work with anyway in these tight spaces. And so that's all done, and it's ready for me to start building the false bottom over the top of once I do a little bit more cable organizing. We have fired the furnace. I can't tell if the smell I'm smelling is just the unit burning off something, or if there's something else going on, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of testing to double check. In theory, it should be just burn off smell, but I'm not going to kill myself by accident. So I'm going to be coming in here with a CO2, CO meter and double checking to make certain there's no exhaust gas getting in anywhere. And then you can see we're building cabinets. This is the main outer framework for the last kitchen cabinet. I still have pieces to make. There's still a piece that needs to go across between here for supporting the countertop. The stove will go in there. This is going to be boxed in to the dimensions of the stove with a little extra space to put that mineral insulation they use for ranges and stuff to insulate the heat and keep it from spreading out into the wires and pipes and everything's underneath and around the furnace because of the stove, because everything is a tight fit. So over here, as you can see down in there, is our freshwater fill system. So this is that city water connection I was talking about. 3/4 inch PEX goes into the wall there, and then we have our hard pipe coming from the gravity fill, making a 90 down into the T, and then that gravity feeds down into the tank below there. So finally got my freshwater pump out of Mr. Kit. Ended up having to replace the diaphragm on the top because I was an idiot and over tightened that left fitting and broke it off. So I had to buy a new diaphragm assembly because those are $20. The first one, it said delivered. Couldn't find it until I was cleaning up the yard about a week ago, and they had put it in an old kitty litter bucket sitting in the yard. That does not account as delivered to person. I don't know whose book that counted as delivered to person, but it did not get delivered to person. And you can see all of our plugs for the trailer coming in back there. You've already seen all that, and the lights underneath the cabinets. We've been working in here. We've got all the fans in place. They're not currently plugged in, otherwise I'd do a quick demo on them. I was hoping to get some work done the last couple days, but you know, Rona shot, and it's made me two things: sleepy and high as a kite. Wonderful Pfizer. These right here are the antenna wires for the cell phone booster and the camper's Wi-Fi repeating system. That's basically a network extender, and those have antennas up on the roof. I'll crank them up and show you real quick. Cab over still a mess. Here's my switches that I took out of Mr. Kit for my hot and cold fans. They'll be going on where those blue and red cables are there. That's the main junction for all the 12 volt on this side. And so that would be control the fans back there and the ones that are already in this fridge, which came out of Mr. Kit. So making good progress. I'm going to crank up the antenna for you here. You can kind of see it through the roof. There you go. You can see my little antenna sticking up there. I wish that was cleaner. I could just shoot that in here. So let me just step outside. One of these days I'm going to grab my gimbal so I can shoot this in the appropriate mode instead of having to hold the phone up. So, up there on top of our little antenna mast, attached to that little piece of aluminum on the back there is, on the left, is our Wi-Fi network extender antenna, and on the right is the Wi-Fi booster. And when that's completely lowered, those still stick up from the roof and can be used. But you can raise them up and give them more range, and they just go in through the connection in the roof vent there. So this is probably going to be a somewhat shorter update video because I've got to finish packing to go see my dad. He's having health problems, so I'm spending most of my free time. We get long weekends down with him. And here's our propane compartment, complete with our auto switchover valve, which, by the way, does work. That is the crappiest light possible, and unfortunately my phone does not like it when I turn the light on at the same time. See if I can get that focus a little bit more. No. Alright, so there's right here there's an elbow black pipe, and that goes in through the wall in the camper. And that's going to get sealed to the side of the compartment. Some automotive seam sealer. And then we just got my test tank in there right now. And then we have the pigtails. But this works. They both fit. The door shuts properly. They fit just, even with the compartment short, they still fit with a space, just enough space to shut the door tightly. This, I need to do something about it to make it snugger. My attempts at tightening this up have not been successful so far. I may have to get some bigger pliers to do it because I can't take it out anymore because it's bolted to the wall, and that's all inside of an enclosed wall now, and those are nylocked, and so they aren't coming back out because I want to make certain that the tanks, because unlike the original, there is plywood on all sides of this compartment now, and so those tanks were actually anchored into wood. So I need to redo that copper in there, is what I was talking about earlier. So that pretty well wraps up this update. There's not a huge amount that's changed. Mostly just been the plumbing, and gas lines took a while longer than I was expecting. We're definitely going to need to seam seal that shower pan. I don't think there's a couple spots where the fiberglass resin got a little way in like I was hoping. So I'm going to seam sealer all the way around the perimeter, and then I'm going to glue down aluminum flashing along the edges of the solid aluminum angle or something to make it a good and tight seal. And then we're going to sand this floor up and get it painted and get that toilet flange sealed, which I think is where most of the water I was seeing was coming through because it's not sealed tight to the floor yet. So it's coming together. It's getting closer. Yeah, you can see. Oh, I need to put the chafe guard on the rubber line for the fridge. The gas line comes through the wall right there and then goes down above the tank and then back up over here. You can see my cap from the tests. I need to bend the 3/8" copper line still for that once we get closer to putting the stove in, because I don't want to have that get dinged up while I'm making the drawer slides and stuff that go over here, because this still needs the framing done for the drawers. And so that's where we're at currently. And so I am going to bid you all a good night, and I will post another update video soon.